Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Great.
Hour 2, Fantasy Sports Today on SportsGrid. Thanks for tuning in to the show. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. We have you for 2 hours every Saturday morning. This is the second hour of the show. Thanks for tuning in. And at the top of the hour, what we do is we discuss some players that could potentially bounce back for the second half of the baseball season. And folks, we are here. We are halfway through 81 games played by, I believe, all Major League Baseball teams are close to it. And so George and I are going to identify some players who did not live up to the billing in the first half and see if they can bounce back in the second half. Let's get started with the Tampa Bay Rays, a player hitting under 200 for the first half, not just April and May. My gosh, George, what happened to Randy Arozarena? 190 for Arozarena, who's been such a fantasy star for the past few years. 10 home runs. 27 runs driven in, 10 stolen bases. My gosh, at least he's given you that. A virtually unplayable player for the first half. Will he bounce back in the second half, or is he a bust?
Well, he's certainly a bust for the first half, right? He's been, we talk about disappointing teams. He's been one of the biggest disappointing fantasy players in the game, right? For someone who hasn't gotten hurt, at least not that we know about. That being said, he's shown some signs of life over the past 10 days. Right, so he's got some of those home runs, hitting the ball a little harder here. So I'm going boing here. I think he's going to bounce back in the second half and have a maybe not quite the value that at draft time, but I think he's going to return some value to you. So I wouldn't trade him. I'm not trading him for 70 cents on the dollar. Actually, he'd be a player I'd want to acquire. I'll take a shot that he's going to be that guy. Also, a chance, by the way, that Tampa Bay moves on. They're not playing all that well this season. There's been talk that Arozarena, Yandy Diaz could be moved here, that they'll make some moves at the deadline. Once again, they're that team that has to free up payroll, right? They're not going to have a huge payroll. So they can trade Arozarena if he plays well over the next couple of weeks, and maybe they can get a haul for him. I might look for that as well. But I'll take boing. I think he bounces back.
3 boings, huh? A 3 boing player. I don't know if I've heard that.
I don't know how many boings I can get away with.
I think a couple more, you get censored here on SportsGrid. But all right, another disappointing first half. When Seattle moved this guy, people are like, what are they doing? They needed the offense. Eugenio Suarez, third baseman, Arizona Diamondbacks. I guess Seattle made the right move here. What in the world? Eugenio, oh my gosh, 193 with just 6 home runs, 32 runs driven in, 88 strikeouts. Like, this is the kind of guy that, like, I mean, he's on the verge of not being on a team next year, George. Like, you cannot do this on a major league team. Arizona's been a disappointment. Carroll's been a disappointment. Is Suarez a bounce-back candidate for the second half? Bounce or bust with Eugenio Suarez?
Yeah, you always worry about players that get traded. How are they going to acclimate in their new towns? Once again, we talked about earlier about people, players are people, right? I don't know. You got to go to a new town, new house. I don't know if he has a family. The kid's got to find schools. Where am I going to get my laundry done? Where do I go to get my pizza? And maybe it's just not working out in Arizona. Right? He's just not comfortable there, whatever it means. You would think he would have had a better year because Seattle, okay, it's an average hitter's ballpark. Arizona's a good hitter's ballpark. But it ain't working out at all here. And I don't think it's going to change all that much either. So survey says, nope, bust.
No boing, boing, boing.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Not even one boing.
All right, Justin Turner been making a tour around the league a little bit here. He's playing now for the Toronto Blue Jays. And it is for the first time, George, in a long time, it has not gone well. Is this the end for Justin Turner? 250, 5 home runs, 25 runs driven in. He signed that contract last year with the Red Sox. He was great. He's been great with LA. Took them to a World Series in 2020. But I don't know, George. This is the first time you look at his career and maybe the age is caught up with him.
Yeah, and you would think Toronto. It's a hitter's paradise. It was a hitter's paradise before they brought in the fences. And that was kind of a joke there, but it's not working out. He is hitting a little better of late here, but you and I already think that they might break this team up. I'm not saying Turner's going to go anywhere, but I don't know anybody who'd want him. Maybe for a song and a dance, right? And you put him as a veteran. Sure, but I don't know anybody's dying for Justin Turner right now. I think he'll be better, Craig, only because he can't do much worse. Right? So I think he'll do better. But there's no boings coming here. I think, once again, I think it's another bust. He's only your corner infielder anyway, maybe a DA, so it's not like he's killing your team anyway like a Rosarina is. But I don't see much of an upswing here. I think his team might get worse because I think they might break it up. That takes away some protection or some base runners from Justin Turner. I don't think things are going to get any better here.
So, bust for Turner. All right, so this is a surprising one. I know he was hurt for a lot of last year, but I really like Jeff McNeil as a player. George, I can't really identify what's going on here. 221, 4 home runs, 19 runs driven in. On a nightly basis, even when the Mets lose or win, it seems like social media is just going after this is like the one guy that they're constantly going after. Jeff McNeil, who has carved out an excellent career for himself, sort of out of nowhere several years ago. You think he's still hurt? What do you think's going on here?
He had that, I think, the hand injury last year. You do wonder if that carried over. We're just not completely healthy here. You do wonder about that. Listen, he might even have a job right now if Ronnie Mauricio didn't wreck his ACL during Winter Ball, right? So my question is this. What does he add to you? No speed, no power. It was the average we always went after, right? Because he was a really good professional baseball hitter. And now he's not even close to that anymore. He did have, I think, 3 or 4 hits last night. Granted, one was the old pop-up that the shortstop at third base went, oh, you catch it, you got it, I got it, boing, no one has it. I don't see much, because even if he rebounds, what are you hoping for? He's not going to add you any counting categories. You're going to pray for average? No, thanks. This is not a good segment here. Another survey says,
he's out. Now, this is the ultimate out for me on this one. You don't even have to ask. What were the White Sox thinking on this one, George? Andrew Benintendi giving him he is not getting traded. He's not going anywhere from the Chicago White Sox. 201, 6 home runs, 22 runs driven in. Talk about right place, right time for free agency. Benintendi's a great example of that. That's not to say that he's a bad player. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, the White Sox, they got caught in a desperate situation, and they're stuck with him signing to a long-term deal. George, there's no convincing me that there's a bounce back coming here.
No, I'm not even going to bother. We all know that it's a bust there. I think the White Sox do want to trade some players. We all will wonder if Louis Robert is going to be that guy. Maybe we've heard rumors about Philadelphia. Boy, if they get him, my God, that would be something there. Eloy Jimenez, by the way, good luck. I still think he might end up in Seattle, by the way, Jimenez, and then good luck trying to see if he can stay healthy. Jimenez, Stanton, Buxton, all in the same category, all immensely talented, but nobody can stay healthy for a week. Benintendi was on the Yankees, as his last team he played for before the big contract, and the Yankees wanted to re-sign him until they saw what Chicago gave him. They're like, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. So no. Once again, not going to happen, Benintendi.
Yeah, and the White Sox, just generally speaking, I know they're going through it this year, and they're going to have to go through some sort of rebuild, I guess. And Crochet has been fantastic, and I guess Luis Roberts on a pretty friendly deal. But the White Sox dug themselves a major hole with some of these signings and extensions and things like that. Benintendi, definitely one of the guys who fits that bill, unfortunately for them. And so they'll have to, sort of figure out what to do. All right, so those are the bounce or bust hitters. Coming up next, George and I are going to go through the bounce or bust pitchers in Major League Baseball. And for those of you who are enjoying the fantasy baseball content, just a reminder, it doesn't end today at 11 a.m. Eastern. Our show does, but there is another one tomorrow morning. Joe Pizzapia and Matt Stryker have you covered for our Sunday morning edition of Fantasy Sports Today. And for those of you looking for a little fantasy football content as we get into the summer, don't despair. George and I, as we hit the month of July, we get through July 4th, the holidays, etc. We will definitely be diving into some fantasy football content next month. So stay tuned for that as well. So stay with us here on the show. Can Jordan Montgomery, one of the last pitchers to sign a contract in free agency in Major League Baseball, boy, has he worn it all season long. We'll talk about if he or the Diamondbacks can turn it around next. Fantasy Sports Today on SportsGrid. Don't go away. Great.
'Cause
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11-12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Great.
Yeah, I'm good. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. Time for some bounce or bust pitchers in fantasy baseball. What is this conversation? Will they bounce back in the second half, or are they just complete busts on the season? Let's start off with a player on my fantasy team. I thought I was getting a huge discount with Jordan Montgomery when I drafted him. He had just signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I thought people kind of forgot about him in fantasy. I should have forgotten about him. 65 innings, 45 strikeouts. I mean, is there a lesson to be learned here with Blake Snell and Montgomery, George? Like, I guess not really at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. Maybe the lesson is for the teams, not for the players, because both players got paid very well, and neither pitcher has done anything in fantasy this season. Those are the last guys to sign. Montgomery in particular, I mean, it has to be a bounce because it can't be worse.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. I guess you're right. I guess it can't be worse, but I don't think it's going to get much better. I think the lesson learned is this for fantasy owners and for Major League Baseball owners. If they hold out of camp, don't sign these guys. Just don't do it. You know, I mean, Montgomery's a touch field guy, right? He may be a big guy, but he's not someone who throws the ball overly hard. He needs to hit his spots. And he changes speeds, changes spots in the zone, up, down, in, out. And maybe he has control, but not where it's not controlling the zone. He can hit the strikes, but he can't put the ball where he wants to. So no, I don't think much thing is going to change here. And I know saying the spring training thing is okay. Well, it's still, he's been pitching for 2 months, so he's got through that. Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe whatever. Maybe he's not comfortable in Arizona. I don't know. But either this, no, I don't think you're going to get much better, Craig. All right. So your theory, okay, he might pitch better in the second half than he did in the first. It's not saying much. So, yeah, he can't be. He truly can't be. But I don't think it's going to get much better. Nope. Sorry. I'm negative today.
Okay. All right. No boing, boing, boing. Tristan McKenzie, Cleveland Guardians. Wait, a Guardians pitcher with an ERA of 5? Is this possible? 75 innings, 74 strikeouts. The big number here, George, concerning 49 walks for Tristan McKenzie. Cleveland has been fantastic in every category this year. If they can get this guy going in the right direction, they could be virtually unstoppable come the postseason. I mean, you think that I'm crazy, but take a look at the Guardians' record, look at their stats overall, their run differential. I mean, it's all legit. But McKenzie was somebody they thought that would be fantastic potentially for them this season. It hasn't worked out.
He's pitching through an injury, right? One of those guys who doesn't want to have the surgery, so his velocity is down. I don't think it's coming back. I think when he's one of the guys, he's good luck. I think he can still pitch. He'll have some good outings here and there, but he's not going to be the guy we thought he was going to be. Not this year. Maybe he needs a full off season at heels here. And I'm a Tristan McKenzie guy. I actually like this kid, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year for him. No, I'm sorry. I can't. I want to, but I'm kidding everybody. I want to say boing, boing, boing again, but I can't. No. Down on him, too. Another guy. Family Feud is over, man. You lost. Your family lost. Another one.
All right. Out another one. All right. Now, here's one that, the Tigers went into the season with some decent expectations. They pitched pretty well, but it's starting to fall apart for them here, George. Kenta Maeda, another pitcher they acquired in the offseason. I believe he started off the season pretty well, but he has now completely fallen back to a 5.76 earned run average, 45 strikeouts in 59 innings. And look, no one thought Kenta Maeda, George, was going to be a number 1 or a number 2, right? That's not the case here. But you expected better. Is he a bounce back candidate for the second half?
Boy, when I think of the Tigers, I think of 2 players I'd like on my fantasy team. Neither one of them are named Kenta Maeda. All right, no. I think this guy is a bottom of the for any team. Detroit is a pitcher's paradise, by the way. He can't get it done there either. I'll take Skubal. I'll take Riley Green. That's it. I don't know if I want anybody else on Detroit. That's not to say they're all terrible. I just don't think they're all the useful players I can have here. Maeda he's a 4th, 5th starter at best. At best. For a Detroit team that's not going to win a lot of games, and you play in one of the weaker divisions, so a lot of your starts are against weaker teams here. So no, I want nothing to do with Kenta Maeda here. I don't see things getting much better. He's one of those guys. I guess things can't go much worse, but right. I'm not banking on it. Nope.
Agreed. Also left the game last night injured too, so that may just close the book on him. All right, a couple closers here. Cincinnati Reds. Alexis Diaz does have 17 saves. So from a fantasy perspective, even though George's ERA is pushing 5, we don't really care. I mean, it's not a lot of innings. It's 29. I mean, at the end of the season, George, he's going to save 30 and you're going to get what you paid for here, which is all you can ask for. The only concern here is what if this continues and they pull him from the closer's role? I just don't see that happening. I think they just continue to roll him out there. So it's not a matter of bounce or bust for me with this player. I think he's just going to be who he is. What do you think?
My only concern would be that he gets traded. right? To a team that wants an eighth inning guy. That would be my only concern there. If the Reds did want to move him, he'd have value. Bullpen pieces are going to be. Everyone needs bullpen. Everybody. You name any contender out there, right? Dodgers, Yankees, Orioles. You go on and on and on here. The Mets, if they think they're a contender, and even if you have a good bullpen, you still want better relievers. So if they would, and I don't know if they will, but if they were to put him on the market, he'd have a lot of value. That's my only worry. I don't think they remove him from the closer role. So I guess for me, it's still boing. Maybe not boing, boing, boing. I might give him boing, boing. I'll give him 1.5 boings.
1.5 boings for George. Okay, let's close it out with Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets. Clearly a hugely disappointing season. 7 saves out of 11 tries, blew 3 in a row. 33 strikeouts in 23 innings. There's got to be some bounce back, no, George, here? I mean, there's got to be something.
Well, he got suspended, right, for the stuff on the hand. It was a great picture of him. Like, yeah, good. Go appeal that. Good luck with that. There's a lot of glop you had on your hand. For the love of God, baseball, can you please get a ball with tackiness so we can stop with this stupid stuff where we're frisking the pitchers here? And it's Naked Gun all over again. Every time a pitcher comes off the mat, it's a joke. If they can do it in Japan, you can do it here. I think he does bounce back. All right, I do. I don't think he was really cheating. I think he did have a lot of rosin sweat on his hand, and it glopped up. Such is life. So I think he'll be fine here. Mets are playing well. I think he sort of rebounds with them here. So I'd give him boing, boing, boing. I'd be all in on Diaz.
Heavy on the boings for Luis Severino. Heavy on the boings for Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz. Okay,
Severino too.
Rookie of the Year in the American League. We'll hit it next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Great.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today on SportsGrid. Let's take a look, if we shall, at the American League Rookie of the Year odds, which definitely are intriguing, George, because the best rookie in the American League this year, I personally think, is Mason Miller. Okay, for me, that's who I think the best rookie has been. It is fair to say your guy Luis Gil had been that about 2 weeks ago, but I think it is clear to me that Miller is the guy. But at the same time, Heel is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year. He plays for the Yankees. Let's be clear. I mean, that's big. On pace for 200 strikeouts, on pace for 170 innings. I don't think he's going to hit either of those. And so I just wonder, between now and the end of the season, if we're missing somebody here. And Heel, while he is the favorite, he's just plus 130. Is there a Abreu or a Keuchel? Joe Pisapia, I know, is big on Langford. He still thinks he has a great shot to win in the second half of the year. But for me, it is Miller, George. Like, I mean, he plays on Oakland, so what kind of happened was he was just throwing so hard at the beginning of the year, 102, 103, whatever it was, and we just got used to it. And so we just don't talk about it that much anymore. But he's going to be in the All-Star game in Texas. His ERA is under 2. He's got 14 saves. I don't know. What am I missing here?
Innings. That's what we're missing here. He just doesn't throw many innings here. That being said, he's got a shot. I agree with you about Heel. He's not going to do the 170 innings. He's not going to do 200 strikeouts. The Yankees keep saying that they're not going to shut him down. I mean, he didn't look when I say he didn't look good his last start versus the Mets, not so much about being hit. His mechanics looked off, right? It just looked like he was getting tired. So now his mechanics are screwing him, and that's a great way to get injured, by the way. So I think the Yankees have to be very careful with Louis Heel. So I think I said very careful with him. So I don't know if he'll be there at the end either here. I think he deserves at the half year. Yeah, he's the Rookie of the Year. But looking ahead for the full year, don't know. That being said, Miller's only got 36 innings. And you double that, 72 innings. Can one of these hitters take off? You know, and the guy I'd look at, there's really two of them, would be Keuchel and Langford. Langford, we all thought was going to win it coming into the season because he was tearing the cover off the ball in spring training, right? Looking great. Then he got hurt for a while. So he's got a lot of makeup to do here. But this guy can hit. And once again, he's doing some damage now. Keuchel, I think, is the best natural hitter, sort of all-around hitter. But I also think he's not going to play every day. He's going to be that guy who plays 4 games a week, 5 games a week, because they have so much talent around there. This is a tough one to handicap. I think Miller could win it here, Craig, because he is the guy who's the best at what he's doing, right? Heel's going to get shut down. Keuchel's not going to play every day. Langford's still waiting, and I don't know if Abreu is going to have enough pub to win there. So I think it's going to end up being between Miller and Langford in the end.
Yeah, but what's interesting too is that Abreu I see at plus 460 here, but George, like, his numbers are not, you know, I mean, at the end of the year, he's doing fine. Okay, 12 home runs, 50 runs driven in, Rookie of the Year. I know it's been a tough offensive year for rookies, but it's just very easy for me to pivot off that. And, the other point, I suppose, with Miller is you would be taking a chance that he would get traded. But, George, if Miller did get traded, if we're just talking about Rookie of the Year odds, is he a lock to be the closer wherever he goes, from Oakland to any other team? I still feel like, yes, he will. So maybe there is some upside there, too, where if he went from Oakland to the Mets or to some higher profile team, maybe that would carry him to this award too. But again, actually, if he went to the Mets, he can't win it, right? And actually, what am I saying? It would have to be in the American League.
I don't think he'll get traded because I just don't think Oakland would get the value back that they think they can for him. So I don't think he's going. By the way, don't you have to build around somebody? So it's another reason not to trade him. But as I said earlier, anybody's tradable. Maybe somebody makes a whopper of an offer. Maybe, like I said, maybe the Phillies make a big offer here or someone like that. So I don't think he's going to get traded here, but it wouldn't shock me if he does. All right, they really wouldn't here. I'm trying to find some other players here that were left out that could be for Rookie of the Year. But I got to tell you,
the one at the
really
beginning
stands out.
The one at the beginning of the year that was the favorite was Jackson Holiday, but that's Evan Carter too. That's another good name too. Yeah, I mean, this list is upside down from where it started at the beginning of the season. Langford, Holiday, Carter, all out.
How about
Keuchel? I think was somewhere.
He pitched too many innings.
It's a default award.
There's nobody truly stand. There's no sexy guy this year. Yeah. It's just not. So it could be Miller by default.
Yeah. All right, Gray Albright's going to join us next. We'll talk about his buy lows for the second half of the fantasy baseball season right after this. Great.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Great.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today. As always, we're joined by Gray Albright early on a Saturday morning. He's been with us each and every week this fantasy baseball season. We're at the halfway point of the year. Gray, along with George Kurtz. Gray, great to have you back here on the show on FST. And it feels like we just started, but here we are, halfway through the fantasy baseball season. We've had offensive numbers down in a big way, a lot of pitching injuries, and it does feel like we're going to get to the end of the season and people who win their fantasy leagues are probably going to have to get pretty aggressive in the second half of the season, because I'm looking at standings for not just my league, but some of these like expert leagues and everything else. It's like pretty bunched up there at the top. It feels like a lot of people are still alive in this thing.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if maybe it's because of the hitting is so bad this year that everyone is bunched up, like you said, but I feel like my leagues are like that too, where I have a few leagues where I can go anywhere from like second to eighth in the matter of like a week. Never really going to first. second to eighth. That's about as far as I'm going. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is because of like the hitting. It's weird. I don't feel like it's usually like this because like I know they've done studies. It sounds so scientific, but they've looked at teams like fantasy teams that after the month of April, usually you're stuck where you are. Basically, it's like there's very little movement usually after April, but this year it feels like there's a lot of movement very late. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's touch on one of your buy low candidates. We talked about the Braves last week here, Gray. George and I did. Specifically, Austin Riley thought he was a nice buy low candidate. You have another player on the Braves you think is a buy low candidate, and last year I believe he like hit 50 home runs. So Matt Olson could be that guy for you this year.
Yeah, no, completely. I feel like there's going to be a few buy lows I'm going to give you, and most of them are going to be guys who you're like, yeah, they've been great before. They just need to be great again. And Matt Olson totally is in that mold. Like you look at his numbers and you see hard hit percentages, fly balls, like nothing looks that extremely out of the ordinary. Like maybe you could say like, okay, he's hitting more line, like Matt Olson's hitting more line drives than usual, which, if that's the worst thing you can say about a guy, it's really not that bad. I kind of expect Matt Olson to have one of those second halves where he just carries teams to championships. Like he's a 50 home run hitter. Like you said, last year he had 54 home runs. Right now, as we record this, he's hitting 12 homers. That's crazy. He's not a 12 homer, two halves. He's not a 24 homer guy. Like that's insane. He's not even a 35 homer guy. He really is a 40 plus home run hitter. Like he is that guy. He's basically like the NL's version of, the top sluggers, like the Aaron Judges of the world. Like Matt Olson, I don't think you're going to be able to find a buy low that is better than Matt Olson right now. Like he is the ultimate buy low for me.
All right, speaking about another buy low candidate on your list, and we mentioned all the offensive numbers are down throughout baseball. Makes me wonder, by the way, if after the All-Star break, the happy fun ball is going to come back. But we talked about this player earlier in the game, and listen, he's on my home team, killing me. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't have a good enough player to really bench him for. But Julio Rodriguez took me off the ledge.
Yeah, so Julio Rodriguez, like you said, he's been miserable. And, maybe we get the happy fun ball, which would be so great. I'd love to see it. But, even if we don't, last year, no one was saying last year's ball was like a bouncy ball. Everyone was assuming last year's ball was pretty basic, standard run-of-the-mill baseballs. There wasn't outrageous offensive numbers last year. And last year, Julio Rodriguez had 15 homers in the month of August and September combined. So that's basically you're looking at a 35 home run guy if he's doing that over the course of a full season. Now, of course, obviously, he hasn't done it over the course of a full season. But if you're looking at a guy who could potentially be a top 5 overall hitter for the second half, I think Julio Rodriguez can do that because all he needs is the power. Everything else has been more or less fine. His average is obviously a bit low, but he's not striking out a ton more. It's up a little bit, but no more than most guys who are hitting 265, 270. So if he's hitting 265, 270, he's still stealing, 15 bags in the second half. And he hits 15 homers in the second half. A 15-15, 270 hitter in, a half, it's basically what you thought you were drafting back in March. So, yeah, I could see Julio Rodriguez bouncing back and being, really solid for the second half. And if not, at least you're getting steals.
Right. Yeah, no, and great. The other thing, too, with Julio, I think the cause for optimism is that he did have a very big second half. I guess the only thing that I would wonder is when does that start? Because last year it started in June, and this year it's going to have to start in July for him to get going. I don't know why that is, but we'll remember this next year, too. All right, Gray, let's go to pitchers. Yesterday, a win for Zach Eflin of the Tampa Bay Rays. He, certainly we know exactly who he is, but the numbers are a little bit down from where they were last year. Still, his control is incredible, doesn't walk anybody. I don't know where the Rays are headed. Where is Eflin, you think, headed for the second half?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because the Rays have already said that they're going to be sellers. Things could happen. Maybe they rattle off 7-10 wins in a row and they become, they no longer are sellers. But right now it looks like they're selling. So you figure Zach Eflin's going to go to a good team. They're not selling to a bad team. So if Eflin goes to a place where he's going to get more wins, he's got, as you mentioned, he has great command. So he's not walking anyone. His strikeouts are down a little bit, which is a little bit concerning, but nothing really in the peripherals are saying okay, Zach Eflin is, having some sort of miserable, he doesn't look like he's hiding an injury. He doesn't have the velocity is not down. Everything looks pretty much normal for him except for the strikeout rate. So if the strikeout rate just comes up a little bit and everything else is where it's been, he's always been a low 3 ERA pitcher, at least since he broke out last year. So I expect right now he's barely under 4. I expect better. Not necessarily I don't think Eflin's going to become an ace, but if you're looking at a nice solid buy low where he's going to get a little bit better, which is, if you can get a little bit better on all your players, that's a good thing. And Eflin's really cheap to acquire in fantasy leagues.
Great, you got about a minute here. Houston Astros, one of the hottest teams in baseball, so they got smacked down by the Mets last night. But one of the reasons for their sort of rebound here, Hunter Brown, one of the top prospects, them pitching well, or pitching better than he was at the beginning of the year. What can we expect in the second half?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, Hunter Brown's a great one. I think he's probably he's one of those guys who might actually be throttled a little bit on innings pitched. So I wouldn't go out and buy him low, wouldn't spend too much. But if you can get him for a decent price, he looks like he's breaking out. Like he's doing that. A lot of pitchers in their second to third year, they start to really come into their own. And he looks like he's doing that. Like for the last month and a half, he's been really fantastic. And if you could get in on that at a decent enough price, I would absolutely do it because he looks like a top 20, top 25 starter right now.
Yeah, and the Astros have no other choice. I mean, they are down 4 starters right now, so I think it's a great point. All right, Greg,
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on. We will see you after the July 4th holiday. Appreciate it.
Okay.
We'll come back and do a little fantasy reality next. Break.
'Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Break.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today on SportsGrid. I'm picking up trends here on the show from our producer, Sam. Like, there's some things that just find their way into the show every week. Miles Michaelis has been one of those things. The White Sox somehow show up about being so bad on our show every single week. Like, Sam, the people in Chicago are not going to like you, man, by the end of the year. Like, you were just relentless going after the White Sox. So let's do it again. Fantasy or reality. Let's go. All right, so let's knock down the White Sox yet again, but we're letting the Cubs come in the picture here too. George, both teams are in last and projected to finish last the rest of the way. Fantasy or reality, the Chicago teams, White Sox and Cubs, you got to do some math here. I know it's hard for me. I don't know about you. Will combine for 190 losses this season. We'll assume the White Sox are losing 100. So this comes down to the Cubs losing close to that too.
Well, they're on pace for over 200 losses combined. And well over, we're talking about 208, 209. Quick math tells me that right here. So theoretically, they're going to get worse in the second half, right? We're already wondering who the White Sox are going to trade. Robert, Jimenez, maybe Crochet. Cubs could do the same thing. What was it? Bellinger, some trade rumors out, maybe some other guys as well. I really hope this is not true, but I think the White Sox are winning. Yeah, losing much more than 100 games. I think it's close to 110, maybe 115. Right. Wouldn't shock me either here. Yeah. So this is reality. Unfortunately, this is reality. The White Sox are going to take care of it for them. It's reality.
Right. So if the White Sox lose 110, the Cubs just have to go 82 and 80,
500,
right? And that's
at
best.
Doing that.
Yeah, so that's not happening. So this is an easy reality. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably should have set this at 200. At least we would have had a debate. Okay, the New York Mets, the best team in June in baseball. Braves are kind of slogging their way through the season, sort of just waiting to figure it out at some point on offense. But look, I think the Braves are going to be there. It looks like the Mets will be there too. Fantasy reality, the Mets will finish the season with a better record, win-loss record, than the Braves.
The Mets are only 4 games behind the Braves in the loss column. All right. I mean, damn. All right. The Braves, they're going to make moves at the deadline, right? I think they're going to try and add to the pitching staff. I think they know they need, bottom of the rotation help there. I don't know if the Mets will. I think the Mets will placate their fans and add, lesser pieces, but I don't know if they're going to go for broke. Yeah. I just don't think they'll do that. So that could hurt somewhat. I think this is going to be closer than we think it should be. I think the Braves should be running away with this pretty easily, but I don't think they will. And I think the Mets I think they underperformed at the beginning of the year. They're overperforming now, so maybe it's just evening out to where they should be here. They should hit better than what they were. Should pitch. There's not much there in the pitching staff with their closers, starters, or relievers there. I'm going to say this is fantasy, but I don't think this is a joke. What kind of question is this? No, I think this is somewhat interesting here, but I'll say it's fantasy. I don't think the Mets will.
I think your analysis is pretty much spot on. I don't know what more I can say. I think it's fantasy also. I think the Braves will be better. Let's also keep in mind what the Mets have had to do to have this record that they have right now, which is essentially playing the best baseball in the National League. Maybe only Cleveland, I guess, is better in the American League. And Mets cannot do this all season long. They can be good. They can make the postseason, in my mind, without a doubt. But their win percentage is not going to be close to 700 the rest of the year. So Braves will hang in there. Braves will be better than the Mets at the end of the season. So I have fantasy here. All right, Luis Gil, who is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year. He's been a fantastic pitcher in the first half. My guess is when they announce next week the rosters for the All-Star game, that Luis Gil will be on it. But I mean, this guy just simply put has not pitched a lot of innings over the course of his career. He's 50 away basically from 130. Fantasy reality, George, Luis Gil will pitch 130 plus innings this season. I'd love to say fantasy here, but how can the Yankees even shut this guy down? Like, I don't, how can they? I mean, it's over for them if they do.
The Yankees swear up and down that they're not going to shut him down. Yankees lie all the time, so I don't know how much I'm taking that, thinking that's going to be true here. And you're right. I mean, Clark Schmidt did start a throwing program yesterday, so he could be back shortly after the All-Star game. So I guess if everybody's healthy, yeah, they could just – I don't think they would shut him down, but maybe make him a multi-inning reliever. That's been talked about that, like Mariano Rivera was in 95, that sort of thing to keep his innings in check. He's coming back off Tommy John surgery. Only threw 4 innings last year. Boy, if he reaches 130, it won't be – I don't think he'll crush 130. I don't think he's going to get past 150 here. This is a tough one for me, but I'm going to say someone else is going to get hurt for the Yankees. As long as it's not Gil, I'm going to say he gets over 130, barely. I think he gets between 130 and 150 here. So I'll say reality gets over 130.
Yeah, I got reality too. By the way, I'm going to say way over 130. I'm going to say way over. I don't think the Yankees can afford to shut them down at all. Finally, Red Sox on FanDuel plus 165 to get into the postseason, make the wild card. Got to give that team some credit. They are what the Blue Jays were hoping to be. Fantasy reality, George. Boston Red Sox make the wild card this year.
Well, they're playing baseball, right? They're running the bases here, putting pressure on the defense. They don't have great starting pitching. They don't have great hitting outside of really Rafael Devers. Duran is a good ball player. But they're playing baseball, and you got to like the way they're playing here. Currently, they're the first team not in a wild card spot. They're a game and a half behind the Kansas City Royals. Why not them? Why not? Will they make the move at the deadline? Will the Royals make the move at the deadline? Minnesota Twins are also tied with the Royals. I think the Twins get in. Yankees the first wild card, 7 games up, be 8.5 over the Sox here. So pretty much Red Sox, Royals, Twins, 2 teams get in. I'll say the Red Sox get in. I'm going to say I'm going to give the Red Sox a little love here. Reality.
Yeah, for me. It's like between Houston and Boston. Yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to come down to that. I'm going to say fantasy. We've agreed on too much on this show. I'm going to say fantasy. I'm going to say Red Sox do not get in to the playoffs. That's our fantasy reality. Yeah, no, they are.
Screw the Red Sox.
That's our fantasy or reality for the day. Coming up next, history about to be made in the NBA. We also have the SportsGrid 60, and then we'll send it over to betting above the rim at the top of the hour. No?
'em. Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Great.
All right, welcome back. We got to wrap up the show in about 6 minutes because Game Time Decisions is coming up next with Kevin Walsh. He's ready to go. And then after that is Betting Above the Rim with Coach Young and Scott Farrell. History is going to be made. We're going to have a father and son playing on an NBA court, George. LeBron James is going to play with his son, Bronny, at some point during the regular season of the NBA. The Summer League begins on July 12th. Bronny was taken 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers. Listen, I am tired of talking about it, but I do recognize this is going to be one of the biggest stories in the history of sports to have a father and son like this. I remember when Griffey played with his dad. I even remember when Tim Raines played with his dad too. I mean, it's a phenomenal story. I don't know what else to compare it to, but I do not want to minimize it. But at the same time, it has dominated the topic of discussion now for a long time.
Yeah, well, there's LeBron James, right? One of the greatest, if not the greatest NBA player of all time, although I'd be more of a Michael Jordan guy. Listen, I get it why it's a big story. I'm not a basketball guy, but I've certainly heard of it over and over again. If I'm a Lakers fan, not sure how thrilled I am they spent a second-round pick on this. It is fun. I get it. It'll be, once again, historic, but you want the team to be better. And if there's a better player to get at 55, I probably would have preferred that. But as you said, for me, it's be the equivalent of the Griffeys, right? When, who can forget Ken and Junior and Senior both hitting home runs in the same game? Right? I know I can't forget that. So, that's what the equivalent would be to me.
Yeah, it is going to be a great moment when it happens. All right, it's time for a great moment for us as we give you 60 seconds of commentary. George and I breaking it all down for you. Here is the Sports Grid 60.
What is with the new phenomenon in baseball? When you do something well, you got to sort of celebrate it. The Dodgers, for instance, you get a single, they do that little hip dance at first base. They all have to do it there. It's driving me insane. Isn't that your job? You hit a home run. Some teams, they put a jacket on you. The manager holding the trident. I mean, maybe I'm the old fogey here, but can we please act like you've done it before? Isn't that why Barry Sanders, when someone asked him once, why don't you celebrate if you score a touchdown? Well, my father always told me I should act like I've done it before. And I kind of like that, and I agree with that. But like I said, all these dance moves or whatever else they got to point at the sky, point this way. Guys doing, you want to do a bat flip, fine. How about we don't do it when you're down 9-0? All right, that's a little silly to me. All right, you lost the game, you're getting crushed here. I don't know what you're celebrating. I know baseball's a lot of I, me stuff here. Maybe it'll be great for your next contract here, but that drives me insane. I used to love that in football when somebody scores a touchdown and when they're down 42-0 and the defender goes, you might want to look at the scoreboard, buddy. Too much I, me stuff going on, Craig. I'm just not a fan.
All right, George, we'll go from George's crabbiness and negativity to some positivity. Florida Panthers are going to be one of the most fun stories, I think, in sports for the year. But their celebration of the Stanley Cup is going to go down as an all-timer. I don't think there's any question about that. A lot of things are done with the Stanley Cup. We've seen it in the past. The Panthers are taking this to new levels. They are all around South Florida with this cup, and all these players are doing different stuff. They've gone in the water with it. Roberto Luongo has eaten pasta. He ain't even on the team anymore, and he's doing that. And my buddy goes down to Fort Lauderdale Beach where they're celebrating, and it's literally sitting on a bar stool is the Stanley Cup. And one of the players told my friend, yeah, go pick it up, take a picture. I mean, this incredible stuff going on right now with the Panthers, the way that they are embracing the fans. Their parade is tomorrow morning. So good job by the Panthers, and not the most anonymous franchise in sports like they used to be for many, many years. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks to Gray Albright for coming on our program. Of course, thank you to George for co-hosting as always. I'll see you next week. Have a good week. Happy July 4th. Oh,
you as well. Yeah, happy 4th of July, right? Hey, the Yankees even play on the 4th of July this year. Isn't that nice?
There you go. Yeah, I think the Marlins play on July 4th at home. I don't think they
Everybody should play on July 4th. Everybody should play on all the holidays.
I agree. It should be the case. Also, thank you to our associate producer, Vinny, for doing a good job today. Sam, our producer of the show, too. And as I mentioned for George, I'm Craig Mish. Coming up next, we got Kevin Walsh. And Kevin has game time decisions from 11 to 1, 1 to 3 Eastern. It is betting above the rim with Coach Young and Scott Farrell. And then In-Game Live has you covered for all of the live action. That show starts today at 3 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget to catch Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker for more fantasy baseball talk tomorrow morning. My next show here on Sports Grid will be Monday morning here for our next edition of Newswire, but I would encourage you to stick around because we've got some great programming for you the rest of the day and tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everyone. If I don't see you, happy July 4th, and we'll see you soon here on Sports Grid.